What has been the most difficult part about putting this show together, would you say?
Just scheduling people's time. I don't know. I don't even know that I would answer that, just because it's all difficult and it's all a great pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, that's the only part I don't like, is scheduling.
Yeah.
It's, we really, I think, have built the show around Maggie, so there's a pace to the work that had to be in relationship to the pace at which Maggie began to learn the text, and we're still in a process of, now that she knows it, how does she stand in front of 120 people and let go? And let go into the possibility of forgetting what she's talking about.
Right.
That's a very simple challenge for an actor, but you need to have responses to it. An actor needs strategies to contend with their fears, and we're in that stage now. It's not a difficulty. It's interesting. I mean, it can be really painful to do that work in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's my answer. In a way, it's bringing it to the public. That's the most difficult part.
Yeah.
The work in rehearsal is endlessly interesting. And,
there was also a wonderful sense of variousness among the actors. You know, you had Leanne, who hadn't really worked in theatre at all.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's her
And
stage debut.
Justin,
Same thing.
never acted.
No.
Except as a singer,
Yes.
he's acting.
Yes, of course.
Sort of
Pretending to be a singer.
Pretending to be a singer. And so I mean, and Maggie was worked in theatre a lot, and Tom. So I mean, there was this wonderful kind of bringing all these people in. Amy, who came in, kind of, was firework.
Yes.
So I mean, it was kind of wonderful to see, because Amy was kept back behind stage, until her little entrance.
Yes,
so,
of course.
So I just, what was really a pleasure was to see all those people of that different kind of backgrounds suddenly coming together with this show, and I think the variousness of the way they acted too was interesting. So the way Amy, and Leanne is telling a monologue, the way Anna tells a monologue is very different.
Very different.
And of course, I had to work with each of them very differently.
Yes. Well, as an actor yourself, did you find that it's easier to direct, having had that background?
I don't know what it would be like without it.
Without, of course. Do you feel more?
Well, certainly I'm more sensitive to what the challenges are for an actor, and I'm very sensitive to how someone might be able to use what I say, because you can say something that can throw an actor off for weeks. You can touch a fear or create a kind of obsession, but just with one little phrase. Stay with them for a very long time. And a lot of what you might... for instance, one thing that I do that I think comes from me as an actor is that I will sometimes, with Maggie, I will separate sometimes, I will make very clear what I am experiencing when she speaks. I will speak like that to her, what I'm experiencing. And then I'll make very clear that I'm now talking about what I think you need to do.
Right.
So I'll allow her to see my experience sometimes, because I know that can be helpful to an actor like her.
Yeah. No, carry on.
No, I'm just, the whole idea of how much emotion an actor shows. I'm very curious about what you feel about that, and what it does to an audience to have an actor showing a lot of emotion, or to show a limited emotion, or no emotion. And I know you were interested in that with this production.
Well, for instance, with Maggie, when she shows too much emotion, it feels very, very simple to me. This is a person who's not ready to tell the story yet. That's what I feel when she's too emotional. That much emotion does not permit her to convey the meanings that are in the text. And an audience will experience the problem that a person is having as opposed to the thoughts that the text carries. And I'm much more interested in the thought.
Mm-hmm. But for an actor, it must be tough.
Yes, it's very
Right,
tough.
yes.
No, especially because, I mean, the other actors are showing a lot of emotion. I mean, Claire is allowed to show a certain amount of emotion because she's not telling the story.
Right, yeah.
So it must be kind of strange to be the one who's not allowed to.
Well, it's also emotion is a crutch for an actor too, especially for an actor like Maggie. For instance, you can if you can enter into, let's say, a paragraph. Think of a paragraph of text. If she's carrying a certain emotion with her, she knows where she starts and she knows where she finishes, and she can ride that emotion. But if she doesn't have the emotion, she actually has to know in much more detail what she's doing as she moves through the text. Emotion is also makes an actor feel like they're achieving something. Or in fact, they may not be achieving anything, and they may be obscuring the more delicate work. And that's the dialogue I'm having with Maggie all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is it to do with how much distance that you that you put between yourself and the story that you're telling, so that in order to be able to tell it without getting emotionally attached?
It's not emotion per se. It's whether emotion is serving the meaning being conveyed to an audience. It's whether the emotion is appropriate,
Right.
whether it is a distraction, an unnecessary addition that then begins to bring us into the experience of the actor on stage, as opposed to, I think, where the show actually takes place is between the audience's ears.
Right.
So it's partially a balancing act, but in this show it's also conceptually, what place does emotion have? What does it mean for a character in this play to feel something when we're in this kind of strange theatrical present tense?
Mm-hmm.
There's no narrative present tense in the play.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
They're talking about things that happened in the past. We get glimpses of them, so there's time is a very kind of fluid thing in this piece. So where does an actor exist in time? Because emotion is such a present tense.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's how different it is with a book. Because I know that when I'm at some late stage in writing a book, I'm very conscious of how quick the paragraph should be read. Mm-hmm. So that you're taking out all the definitely no semicolons, for instance, and you're kind of just making it kind of. I want the reader to go through it fast because there's a certain kind of emotion, not emotional, but a speed that should be read at, and then the slowing down bits become later on.
Right.
But in a book, you can change gear. I can have a very cold-blooded scene, and then the next one could be very emotional. But in a play, you sort of have to stay within a certain kind of genre of how much emotion you show, maybe. Though in this one, actually, no, it's not genre.
No, I mean that issue applies in different ways. For instance, sometimes Michael would want to cut something, and I would be a bit skeptical as to whether it was the right thing to do, so we try it without. And sometimes it was very clear that although it felt like trimming fat, that the fat was necessary,
Right.
that you needed that experience of that extra amount of time to reach a certain point. It was really as much about time and how the performer got to a certain point. So I think there are similarities where something needs more time or it needs less time. I think that was certainly part of our editing process.
Yeah. It's interesting in a piece like this. Aviva, the girl who plays young Anna, she was talking about how she almost feels sorry for an audience because they don't get to hear it as often as she does. She says because she hears it so much, every time she hears it, she hears something new. And I think because this play is so rich with language, it is almost like the audience, the first time you hear it, there's so much to take in. It's almost it must be frustrating, I think, that they're not going to get all the levels that are within this piece, you know. With the book, they can go back and reread it, and, well, obviously they can see the show again, but you know what I mean? It's
Well, that's always a problem until you start memorizing, though.
right, yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Sorry.
That desire to something that you find beauty in the language of a writer, you can't own it until you memorize it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll always be
Just out of grasp, yeah.
Yeah, I've never been able to memorize a 4-line poem, so I'm stunned at Tom or Maggie.
I know. It's incredible how much they have, how much they've learned.